You're in the rant hole where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get a rant for yourself by becoming one of those people using the link down below. M wants me to rant about psychedelics. Now, unfortunately, I haven't had what I would consider to be like a full-bore psychedelic experience yet, in spite of the fact that I have consumed psychedelics numerous times. I would say that the most psychedelic experience I've had was probably one of the early times that I got really high on just some really fucking strong weed, and like everything felt like it was sound waves for a while. It was like, I was having sex and it felt like my hands were like bleeding in and like moving as though like a rhythm game, like that game Thumper, like that game. I think that's what it's called, but which is really funny in this metaphor. But like, any games with like those like lines and like where you're like hitting beats on lines and stuff. And it felt like everything was made of colored lines, sort of like the Queens of the Stone Age Go With The Flow music video. I think kind of looks like that. So yeah, like everything was like that for a while. But that was about as far as it went. Like I basically was blind. Like I couldn't really like keep my eyes open. And whether they were open or closed, I was kind of having a continuous visualization of what was going on. That was like almost separate from even being conscious or seeing anything, It was great. Great experience. So, I've never like had that level of psychedelia from weed since then. It's always diminishing with returns with weed. You'll never get as high as that time you got really high unless you step up the strand and the amount considerably, I hope to get there one day. But anyways, so I dropped half a tab of acid one time, and watched My Neighbor Totoro. That was great. I just felt very warm and fuzzy and at peace and good. It felt like having like a really intense body high, basically. But like, it was I didn't trip. So then, just recently, a few weeks ago, I did acid with Zen Huxtable, a full tab each. And I had a psychedelic experience to some extent. I was staring at this wall tapestry that I have, and it seemed like all the little parts were moving and animated like the intro to a Ghibli movie or something. Like one of the ones where they have like the dancing creatures go across the screen like Panda Copanda or something. And, which is not even Ghibli. And yeah, that was happening, and like we just like listened to a bunch of music and watched a bunch of cool like short animations and stuff. And it wasn't even like, I guess it was just like feeling more into listening to music than usual. Like I wouldn't even really say that we were in a state of mind which was totally unachievable without drugs, like maybe the fact that it felt quite so intense was drug fueled, especially with a couple of people who normally are very cool, very chilled out, to be even acting like sort of, to act a little spazzier is maybe a sign that we're on drugs. But like, nonetheless, we didn't really like trip or anything. We just kind of listened to music all night, and like neither of us could sleep. So we were up for like a considerable amount of time. Like at some point, like watching stuff dovetailed into a political discussion as we were coming down, and we just talked for like 6 hours about random political ideas, basically. But yeah, at no point did it seem like I was fucking, seeing shit that I would not ordinarily see, or anything such as that, or hearing, unusual noises. There was a moment, though, where I looked at myself in the mirror and had that moment. Like, they say that when you're on acid, if you find yourself in a mirror, you'll always have a moment where you just can't stop laughing at your own face. And, yeah, that happens, because you just perceive it like, it's like you understand that person is you, and that you're the one making that face, and that you can control that face, but that there's like a kind of like a lag time between you creating the face and seeing it. It's just like Or maybe there is no lag time and you're expecting lag time. So it's like really trippy that it's happening at the same time as you're doing it. Um, I don't know how to put it. But yeah, that's a fucking time. But I would love to do more. I would love to try mushrooms. I would love to try maybe a little bit more acid, from a trusted supplier, as what the one Zen had, um, or just to get so high that I trip again. I don't know if I want to try any harder psychedelics than those. Like, I don't think you really need to go harder than acid or shrooms. You just got to do more of them, until you get the desired effect. But, yeah, I haven't quite reached there yet. I'm trying to think if I've had... Like, I was always paranoid to try acid because of the fact that I'm kind of jumpy, and, like, I'm the type to... if I see something out of the corner of my eye, I might think it's, something scary. But, like, when, my cousin used to tell me, like, that all you have to do to avoid a bad trip is just to continue reminding yourself that it's not real. And, I've gotten good at just doing that in general, at just always feeling that way, at just always, like, beating down on my mind to be less paranoid and, like, to not jump to any weird conclusions about what I'm seeing or hearing and just, like, assume the mundane. And so, like, I think that might be part of why it's so difficult for me to trip, is because, like, I'm constantly, rechecking myself and making sure I understand what's happening and what is real and what's not, so maybe it's more difficult to get influenced when you're in that mindset, but I don't really know. I'll try more stronger psychedelics and get back to you when I do. That's it for that rant.